In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create a bow and arrow animation for your characters utilizing the Libertas Armory bow assets available in several of our packs, whether that's the Elf Ranger pack, the Elf Scout pack, the Medieval Assassin Weapons pack or bundle, or any of the future packs that we're going to be utilizing. It's all going to be in a very similar fashion because this is how I set up my bows for animation, and hopefully this will help you out as you create your own animations utilizing these assets. So to jump in, we have our Elf Ranger from my Libertas Armory Elf Ranger female pack. We're also going to need an animation. So I'm going to go into my content pack, go into my templates, and I have the Assassin Moves pack. So we're going to utilize this to give us a good animation. We have a few in here that'd be really good to use, but why don't we go with this one? It is the archery shot right. Let's take a quick look. Draw, fire. All right, so we do have a good base animation. Looks really good. I would make some tweaks myself personally, but in order to keep this video as short as possible, let's just go over the basics. So let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, let's see. We have our character pull the arrow back. And right now you can see that the bow needs to be adjusted a little bit more just so that it's gonna be more in line with the character. Very easy. I double click on the bow, bring up the rotation point, make sure it's on the local, not the world axis. Just gonna make some quick adjustments to the orientation. You can always refine it further if we wanted to, but I'm going to drag that keyframe all the way back to the beginning. It's going to bake in that orientation right now. So that looks decent. Now, the most important thing, of course, for this animation is going to be having that drawstring come back. So all the Libertas Armory bows are set up with shape keys or morph animators. So we're going to go into that morph and we're going to bring that draw back. Here it is at 100. Obviously, we can see that our bow needs to have a better orientation to line up with that hand. So I'm just going to orient it now, and I'm going to get it to line up with the fingers where that peak is. Obviously, with certain characters, you're going to have various draw lengths. Like the Camilla avatar is 75 is usually a pretty good one. Let's just do that, and we'll make that, see, bring that down a bit. Okay, so that's pretty good right now. So we have the bow rotated properly. We also have the arrow knocked back, or where it should be. So that's going to place a keyframe on the timeline. So obviously, since there is no other keyframe except for 0, it's going to slowly bend back throughout the animation, which is obviously what we don't want. So we just need to try to line up that start process, go back into our morph animation, and bring it back down to 0. Now we can also, what's nice about that is rotate the bow again, just so it's a little bit more lined up with the fingers. Of course, you can get further and further into it as you see fit, but a lot of it with the extreme motions and how quick they go, you're gonna have some leeway. So let's see, as pulls it back. Obviously, we can go dive in. I kind of go in between the keyframes here, rotate it up. So this will be adding keyframes on each area where I'm adjusting. So, okay, and I kind of just like to do this. Very similar to what you would do, say in After Effects, if you want to do keyframe animation and get some good keyframe animations without having to like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go in between and then just make adjustments. There we go. It's looking pretty good. We're gonna go in between this one as well. See if we need to angle it at all. That's decent. Okay. Alright, so there we go. So there's our arrow knocked. Now we need to find the release point. And I'm going to add a keyframe here so you can go down to your transform. Actually, animation. I'm going to find, because this transform is the rotation, and we need our morph. Bring that down. Okay, now we can see. And I'm just going to add another one in here. So for the draw, add keyframe. So now it's locked in. And we can do some further refinement if we really want to dial in this hand as well. Okay, so that's where she releases. And of course, for a bowstring, it goes real quick. You know, we're at 60 frames a second right now. Then 24 frames per second, we'd probably be at 1 or at most 2 frames. So we'll just give it a few here. I'm gonna bring the draw all the way down, but then I'm gonna bring the fired up. So it's just gonna have a little bit of an overextension down there. But of course, now we need to add that keyframe at 0 here so that it evens out. Boom, so now down. I like to have a little bit reverberation. Let's see. It looks like a good fire. So I'm gonna go another 3 frames down. I'm gonna bring fire down. I'm just gonna bring the draw up just a little bit. So it kind of comes back. Another 3 frames, bring that down to 0. Bring our fire to somewhere in the 50s. And then we'll go 3 more frames and bring that to 0. So now we have a little bit of twang of the bow. Looks real nice. Okay, so we got that. Pulling the bowstring back, firing. Great. I love it. Let's get a little bit more in depth with this animation. So right here you can see as the hand pulls back, it has a little bit of play between these two. Now you could go in and you could adjust the keyframe animations on the bow, but let's use a constraint on the hand. So at that frame where we see it kind of break from the bowstring, let's get to frame 105, and we're going to go into our edit reach target. We're going to select the right hand, select and keep the current pose, but then we're going to link it to the left hand. Now we'll see the hand as it gets to that point. It should, see how it moves in line with that hand. And then I'm just going to release it right there as the fingers let go of the bowstring. Now when it comes to these reach targets, there is a bit of a fall off on them. So we're going to have to activate our reach targets. Come down here. When we click on that, you see, and then this little triangle above our keyframe, this is the offset. So it kind of gets it into a smooth position. I don't need it to be smooth because we're literally going to utilize it at that segment. Maybe I'll do right from there to there, kind of locks it in. I'm going to click on this triangle now, and I'm going to almost have that release 1 to 2 frames from there. We'll do 1. See if we even need it. Okay, look at that. See, I like that. It's looking good. So that's locked in. Now what you could do, especially when you do these constraints like that, I like to go up into my animation panel and go into flatten all motions with constraints. Now what that's going to do is it's going to bake in that constraint movement into the actual animation. All right, now we need to add the arrow, of course, because that's one of the most important parts to the bow and arrow animation. So with our elf selected, we're going to add this arrow. Currently it is attached to the spine. We're going to detach that. We're going to use the link feature. Parent, spine 02. I'm going to go to a frame where it looks like she picks out the arrow. We're going to pick parent again. We're going to select that spine. So throughout that whole time frame, it is attached there. On the next frame, we're going to pick parent, choose hand. So it's the right hand. So now it comes out. From here, I like to choose from that frame to here. We can adjust the transformation. So first, we're going to want to make sure that the transformation of the arrow is locked in for there on the spine. So we're going to add a keyframe here. And then when it comes out to the hand, let's see, is it good? I'll pick it out like this. So we bring it and then try to just kind of get it right in between those fingers. So, and then we kind of want it to rotate all the way around to be front facing by the time it gets to the bow. So in order to do that, we're going to rotate it again on the local axis. And the pivot point for the arrow is around the nock of the arrow. So that makes it a little easier to position and rotate. Go. So obviously one of the things that we can do from here to here is kind of going back in between those keyframes, because right now we have this arrow floating in air, and we can just adjust it closer to the hand. Again, the motion is gonna sell a lot of that, unless you're going to be going in slow motion. All right, so obviously you can see the problem that we're going to run into real quickly though is that rotation of the arrow, which is we're going to fix in the next step. So we just need to get it to the point where it looks like it's going to hit that bow. And what I want to do is get that rotated so it's looking closer to the hand. It almost looks like a little bump. But all right, here's where we're going to make a quick adjustment on our link feature. We're going to now transition the arrow being parented to the right hand, and on the next frame it is going to be parented to the bow. And I'm going to adjust the positioning. Again, aiming for the nock to be near the hand more. And rotate. So now that it's attached to the bow, it's going to inherit all of that rotation. So we're going to go to the most extreme portion of the draw. Let's bring it back to there. Cool. So now let's see, and a transformation key there. All right, how does that look? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back and do the same thing we've done before. Go in between the keyframes. Let's just double check where that is lined up at. Right here. Rotate up. Perfect. And I like having it pulled across the hand like that. So let's double check in between those keyframes. Again, we just need to make a little bit of an adjustment based on where the hand is. Rotation up, down, and then here again we have one more. And what this is going to now look like is a good draw. Got the arrow coming out, get ready to shoot. One thing, I'll go back here real quick and I'm going to adjust this. I would like this to be more straight up and down. It's going to make it look a little bit more flourishy. You'll see in a second where the fingers are attached to the nock now. Once we get up there, so see how it gives it that kind of flip over, not so direct. Kind of like it's very legless style of a draw. Okay, so now we're here at the full extension. Gotta look for where our fingers let go of the bowstring. Right there. So let's just hit one more transform for our arrow. And now we're gonna keep that parent one last time. Click on the bow, add that keyframe. We're gonna unlink and keep position. There we go. So now our bow, our arrow is gonna floating in space. So what we're gonna need to do is just take that arrow and on the local Z, just send it forward. Okay, so now you see how that arrow is just not just going straight across in space, but it's ramping up and then slowing down, which we don't want it to do. So in order to accommodate that, I'm gonna select this keyframe, we're gonna right click, go to transition curve, and we're gonna make it linear. Now we gotta do the same for this, which I'm surprised we're not allowed to do. Let's add one more transform key. For some reason, it's not allowing us to pick one there, so we're gonna add our arrow. Select it, transform, but let's just get it as the bow zings this way. I'm gonna bring that all the way there. I'm just gonna line it up as closely as possible real quick with that bowstring as it comes down. And then I'm gonna take that, go to transition curve and make it linear. I'm gonna do that actually for these guys as well. So that's gonna eliminate that ramping. Okay, so now we have no ramp, but that arrow is going like it's flying in space. So all we have to do is figure out distance that we want to cover and then pull that keyframe back. So still too slow, still too slow. There we go. We now have an arrow. I like it to be a little bit more speed to it so it looks a little powerful, much better. Now you can always speed up that animation too with the bowstring, make it a little bit faster. That's going to just give it a little bit more look of power. But right now this is kind of demonstrating what it looks like. And of course, if you add motion blur to this, that is going to help you out. And that's going to do it for our look at how to create the bow and arrow animations utilizing the Libertas Armory bow and arrow assets found in various packs of ours. Now, of course, you can always adjust these animations. If you are going to, I'd suggest doing that at the forefront of the whole process and not waiting till the end, especially since those arrows and hands and everything, they're inheriting a lot of those position and rotations of specific components. It's just going to allow you to go a little bit easier. So if you want your character to stand a little taller, rotate the arm a little bit more, you can do that. I just say do it a little bit beforehand and then follow these similar steps to get that good bow and arrow animation. So go ahead, give it a try, finesse it a little bit more, make sure that those animations look as powerful as you want them to, and you'll be well on your way. Hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully it gives you some indication how to utilize these assets and the opportunities that you have available to you with their certain components and the morph sliders that are included with them. My name is Eric from Libertas Armory, and we'll see you in the next one.